This is the Sports Source, presented by Junk Be Gone and Renewal by Anderson. Now, your host, John Pennington.
Good Sunday morning and welcome into the Sports Source. Happy to have you with us today. We're going to be talking about Tennessee's men's basketball season comes to an end. We'll put a wrap on that. Also look forward to next year. Tennessee football, their spring break starts to rev up because spring break is over, spring practice is back in. We'll talk about that. And then the Lady Vols, they're looking for a new coach. So we've got a lot to cover today. Let's get into it. First segment of our program brought to you by Renewal by Anderson. They are your Tennessee replacement window experts. The highest rated windows in the nation, top marks for their installation crews, and so much money saved on your energy bill you will not believe it. RBAKnoxville.com, Renewal by Anderson. RBAKnoxville.com is where you can go to learn more. Do so. Trust me on this. You will be very, very, very impressed. Renewal by Anderson. All right, some other guys who will impress you today. We have, all right, Mark Pankratz back with us, our basketball expert, former player in Division I, and, of course, former assistant coach under Bruce Pearl and Conzo Martin here at Tennessee. Josh Ward right there, Mike Strange there, Chuck Cavaleras back with us, back in the country. Good to have you. All right. The game was Thursday, so let's do a quick one-segment recap on Purdue, and then we'll move forward and bigger picture stuff with basketball. Vols lose to the 3 seed. No shame in that. Purdue almost made it to the Final Four last night. But let's talk about the key topics that I've heard the most of this week. I'll start with the big one. There were some questionable calls. I didn't think one or two were questionable. The other two I didn't think were questionable at all. But some people thought there were 4 blown calls in the last 2 seconds that all went against Tennessee the other night. What role did officiating play there? Some will tell you they stole it. Is that true? Did the officials cost Tennessee the game?
I would say no. It's always going to be remembered, similar to Jarnell Stokes at the end of the Michigan game 5 years ago. That play's always going to be brought up. I think this will be as well, especially if you do have a series of events. But free throws were a factor. You went to overtime. They didn't lose on 3 Carson Edwards free throws at the end. That would have maybe changed the story for sure. But no, not at all, I would say, in terms of officiating costing Tennessee.
I'm not saying that they did. I just hate to see a game like that end on a whistle. With Lamonte and Carson Edwards. If from Tennessee's perspective, if Carson Edwards had been defending and Lamonte was the shooter there and they called that foul, boy, I would have thought, man, Tennessee got a gift. And so I think Purdue kind of got a gift too. Not saying there wasn't contact, but I hate to see a game end on a whistle like that.
And kind of like in order, wasn't it number 1, was it a 5-second violation, getting the ball in? 2,
Josh timed it. It came out less than 5.
Okay, so let's
even though people are saying he didn't count it, he was doing this.
Were the heels up?
Yes.
You know, and everyone there seemed to dismiss that pretty much. Yes, they were.
Yeah, I'm dismissing it now.
And we saw the grainy video on social media. Oh, he was out of bounds. Yeah. Was it a foul? You know, the one view from the sidelines, it looked like there was no contact. So, but was it close enough for an official from the side to blow the whistle? Well, apparently it was. So, I mean, to me, I agree with what Josh said. You shoot better at free throw line. You know, and it doesn't come down. What were we, 14 to 28?
You missed 14 free throws. You got out-rebounded, and you didn't play the first half. Hard for me to then blame the officials. Yeah. But I never blame the officials.
Here's the thing. You this time of year, you can't have a whole half of basketball the way and play the way that Tennessee played and expect to win a basketball game. Free throws, sure, we should have made them. Purdue saying the same thing. They were about 50% from the free throw line just as well. But what Purdue did, their offense was more in sync. Their sets were better, and maybe that's because Klein and Edwards were making big-time shots, and so you're able to be able to – your offense does look better. But our first half, we were not the aggressor. Going into that second half, we didn't deserve to win that basketball game, and we could go play down the line of different plays. But at the end of the day, Purdue for 40 minutes played better than us.
Let's do that. Let's go play by play. I will only say this, though. You mentioned that if the roles had been reversed there, if that's Turner shooting the 3 and Edwards makes the exact same amount of contact and no whistle is called, Tennessee fans would be screaming that was a foul.
Of course.
Of course.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's all I'm going to say. That's just fandom. All right. There were some things that were discussed this week, a lot of it on social media. Let's run through it the last couple of minutes. 8 seconds to go. 8 seconds to go. Purdue's been missing their free throws. Tennessee's up 2. Do you foul right there, send them to the line to guarantee yourself a possession?
They were up 3, weren't they?
No, Tennessee was up to 82-80
okay.
with 8 seconds to go.
Okay.
No, the rule of thumb is less than 6 seconds or less, and you're up 3. Because what can happen, just like with what happened in that Virginia game last night,
that was
they missed the free throw, and now you can't lose. They're just going to tie. But in that instance, you make the first one, they tip it out, now you can lose a basketball game. So, no, you don't foul.
And on that real quick, John, devil's advocate, say you do foul, and even if they miss, what if it's a long rebound, they get it and they put it back in? I mean, there's just too many ifs there. You just have to count on playing solid defense.
Next one. 1.7 seconds. I had a problem with this one. The play design for 2 passes and the timeout. The inbounds, then Williams catches, turns, throws, then the timeout. You wind up with 0.1 second on the clock. The ref said that it's when the whistle blows, they can't add time. I thought that, of the questionable calls, that one was the one that was iffy to me because I see people add time all the time. But that design, rather than taking, for lack of a better term, the Leitner shot, just firing it down, maybe you get fouled, get it to somebody just to fire up a Hail Mary. Thoughts on the design of, you got 1.7 seconds, let's throw 2 passes before getting the timeout?
Not enough time.
Not enough.
And there's not, and I would even have called a timeout before the 3rd free throw. If you're going to use your timeout there, you let him
think about it?
Yes. That's when I call the timeout right there.
And set it up.
It's, and then say, if he makes the free throw, okay, here's what we do, blah, blah, blah. And also puts more pressure on the shooter.
All right.
No, I didn't like the time, but I do trust the fact that in those instances, coaches go through, and you would think that they've timed it numerous times throughout the year, and that they would be able to get it there within maybe a second, so you've got over half a second. So
the problem is the officials and the clock operator weren't there with you when you practiced it. You kind of put it in their hands too.
Good point. Yeah. All right. This one, I had a problem with this one too. Like Rick Barnes all year, I'm not saying he blew the game, but there are a couple of calls you can question in any game, and the decision. Grant Williams has 4 fouls, so overtime you've got him on the bench, so he won't foul out. And I'm thinking, if you put him into play, he may get the full 5 minutes. Now, he may foul out and then you lose him. But by putting him on the bench yourself, you're guaranteeing he can't get 5 full minutes. I didn't like that at all. For me, you got 5 minutes to play, I would want to start overtime and the early part of overtime with my best team on the floor. And Grant Williams, we've said all year, that team is best when it's inside out and he touches the ball. To have him on the bench there, I thought that was a little odd. Thoughts?
Yeah, I would agree. He had just made a really good, I thought, defensive play at the end of regulation on Edwards' drive to the basket before the ball goes out of bounds, and that would have fouled him out if he had fouled him and Edwards would have gone to the free throw line. And then you play overtime without him completely. So I also thought kind of what Mark said with the first half, be the aggressor. I would have wanted, similar to the Iowa game, to get out to a lead. Yeah. Grant came in with Tennessee trailing and obviously never came back.
Well, you're really doing Purdue a favor by having him on the bench. And overtime is such a momentum thing. How many times does a team take the lead, at least 3 points, go on and win? So, I mean, to have him on the bench, guys, we got to have a good start here. And pretty much that's what happened. Purdue took control and is all she wrote.
Well, and here's the thing. Sorry, my blood starts boiling when we start trying to questioning coaching at this time of year.
Too bad.
There are. I get it, right? Because that's what us as fans can focus on is the decisions. The other side of it, though, Purdue made some heck of basketball plays. They made some big-time shots. We were there defensively. We didn't play well in the first half. Their execution was better. Their better players made bigger shots. And at the end of the game, we end up with an L. Feels terrible, but the coaching staff also did a lot of really good things to get us to fight back.
Mark, I don't know of anybody in town who's praised the coaching staff more than I have this year. This has been Puff Piece City all year. We did a segment, is John crushing too hard on this basketball team earlier this year. They're great. I'm not saying fire anybody. I'm certainly not saying that there are other coaches still alive who are better. But that was a questionable maneuver.
But it was not like Schofield, who took himself out of the game.
Which I also thought was odd.
Exactly.
Mike Strange, I'll let you finish. Will you not question coaches?
I'll question coaches, but not very often. but yeah, I would have probably had Williams on the floor there. But if he did and he fouled out on the first defensive possession, then everybody'd be second guessing over that too. So
I think there's less second guessing there if you foul out there. You just foul out. I would want my 5 guys on the floor, but
he was awfully good in that overtime against Iowa. early in the overtime.
Right.
And
They
stuff.
pretty much won the game.
Yeah. So, all right, very good. When we come back, we got 3 big questions about this Tennessee team, including what went wrong after the Kentucky game, because they weren't the same after. That was like the high water mark. Was it overconfidence? Did their legs give out? Did they just decide, hey, we don't need to play inside out anymore? Defense faltered? What was the deal? Come on back on the Sports Source. We'll discuss.